So hello everyone. So this is our topic for pre-final value-added tax. And just to start with, what is VAT? So VAT or value-added tax, it is an indirect business tax imposed on every first sale, barter, or exchange of goods. So we know sale, we know barter, and of course, exchange of goods. Sale of services, lease of goods or commodities in the normal course of trade or business. When we speak of normal course of trade or business, these are the activities, primary activities of a business in which kung ano ang naka-state bala sa ila for example, normal course of trade or business, usual business activities of an entity. So, ano siyang buot silingon. And lastly, importation, whether it is in the normal course of trade or business or not in the normal course of trade or business. When we import, like nag-import kita, nagbakal kita sa outside of the Philippines, that would be subject to VAT, whether or not it is in the ordinary course of trade or business. So the shifting feature of VAT allows the seller to shift the VAT to its buyers. So value-added tax is an indirect business tax because the entity does not directly pay it to the BIR, but instead, this type of tax has been passed on to the consumers, no? So ginapasa sa consumers, ginabayad sa consumers, then the entity, ang reporting entity will be the one to remit sang ginbayad nga VAT sang customer. So amo na siya ang ginatawag na siya nga indirect business tax. So from the time we were born, we were already paying for VAT, no? Sa gatas na ginainom naton sang bibi pata, VAT is already included in that. So that is why bata pata nagabayad kita. Ano na ta? We are already contributing for the country. No, that's why. And yes, the rate of VAT is 12%. So the formula to compute VAT is output VAT, that's 12% less input VAT, 12%. So the excess of output over input VAT would be VAT payable. So what do we call if the input VAT exceeds output VAT? Later on, mabalanta na ako nung tawag sa iya, no? If nag-exceed ang aton input sa aton output VAT. Okay? So what is output VAT? VAT due on sale or lease of taxable goods or properties or services by any person registered as a VAT entity. If you could recall sa inyong accounting, no, accounting for VAT, output VAT, amo siya ang VAT sa sales, no, sa ginbaligya, no, sa ginbakal mo. If you are the consumer, mo na siya ang kung ikaw ang seller, pagbaligya mo sa consumer, nagbayad si consumer, di ba sa imo? So that would be output VAT. Sa sale na siya class, due on sale or lease of taxable goods or properties or services by any person registered as a VAT entity. What is this input VAT? So VAT due from or paid, no, by a VAT registered entity in the course of trade or business on purchase, importation, lease, or use of goods or properties or services from a VAT supplier. Input VAT. Kung ikaw ang business entity, nagabakal ka kay supplier sang imo nga ginabaligya, na iba nagabayad ka kay supplier. So that would be your purchases. That is ang tawag sina sa VAT sang imo purchases is the input VAT. Ang tawag naman sa VAT sang imo nga ginbaligya, no? That would be output VAT. So VAT sang imo ginbaligya less VAT sang imo nga ginbakal. If output VAT exceeds input VAT, we call that VAT payable. Nga VAT payable. Amo ni klaso. Nagbaligya ka. Okay? So subject to 12%. Nagbaligya ka. Nagbayad di ba si consumer sa imo? So ang ina nga ginbayad ni consumer, you are obliged to remit that to the BIR. No, kiti ano lang ta mo do ka middleman kita do kita bala ang ginagyan sina nga VAT. No, instead nga si consumer mabayad sina sa BIR, kita ang sa ato nag-agi. So that is why we are do ano lang ta do ka remittance do something like that. Do kita ang nagarimit sang tax, in which that is what we call VAT nga ginbayad ni consumer. Kita nagabayad kay BIR. However, we also as business entity, we do purchase commodities, no, from our suppliers. So si supplier ma-charge ina a VAT sa aton. So we pay for that, no? We pay sa supplier. Therefore, kita nag-carry sang burden of tax kay kita nagbayad. So nagbayad na kita, sa supplier na nabahala mag-limit sa BIR. So we are the purchaser. Therefore, ang tawag sinada is input VAT. So ang VAT nga ginbayad ni consumer, in which nga dapat i-remit ta kay BIR, less sang VAT nga ginbayad ta sa aton purchases, in which ibayad na siya sang supplier naton sa kay BIR. If you could imagine do sa black class. So that is why output VAT less input VAT sa aton ginbakal equals VAT payable, no? So that's the concept of value added tax. And VAT payable, of course, output tax minus input tax, no? We arrive at VAT payable on a monthly VAT declaration and the quarterly VAT returns. We do file monthly VAT returns, 2550M, and later on we will discuss those forms. 2550M because monthly, amo na siya M ang 2550. Kung quarterly naman, it's 2550Q. No, muna siya ang iyang BIR form. But muna siya VAT payable output tax minus input tax. So what is the what do we call the excess? What is excess input over output? So if the amount of input is greater than the amount of output tax, the resulting amount is treated as tax credit or deferred asset. Meaning, mas dako ang aton ginbayad nga tax sa aton purchases, no? Sang sa VAT nga na-impose sa aton nga ginbaligya, in which amo na iya ang ginbayad sa aton sang mga consumers, our customers, no? If the excess input over output arises from a quarter return, it may be carried over to the next month or quarter return. So first quarter, for example, first quarter, January, February, March, mas dako aton input VAT sa aton output VAT. So ano na siya? We can carry over that excess to the second quarter. Okay? Tani makakita ko problem nga may amo na. But if there is excess, pwede ta na iya magamit as tax credit, no? Pwede ta na mabuhin in case ang sa second quarter ta magsobra aton output VAT sa input VAT, di ba? We have VAT payable. Less ang tax credit sa first quarter. Kung may bilin pa, that would be our remaining VAT payable na lang. So magamay na siya muna sa class. Now, if the excess input over output arises from a monthly return, it can only be carried over to the next month's return. For example, January, nag-exceed kita input over output. So we can use that in February. No? So mabuhin sa February. Miss, gamiton pa na siya sa quarterly. Hindi na. No? Kaya kung nagamit mo na siya sang Feb, same quarter, di mo na siya magamit. No? Once mo lang. Then, if quarterly naman niya, example for March, no, January, February, March, tingob sila tatlo, sila kabulan, nag-exceed mo input over output, but pwede mo siya mag-carry over na next quarter mo na siya. It may be carry over next month or quarter return mo siya. No? If the excess input over output arises from a quarter return, it may be carried over to the next month or quarter return. So, what do we call the excess input over output? We call that tax credit. Rate and base of output VAT, we already know that is 12%. No, there shall be levied, assessed, and collected on every sale, barter, or exchange of goods or properties a value-added tax equivalent to 12% of the gross selling price or gross value in money of the goods or property sold, barter or exchange, such tax to be paid by the seller or transferor. Excuse me. So in case of sale of service, the base is gross receipts, and in case of importation, the base is landed costs. So you have the summary there in your module. So two types of output VATABLE sale. So those sale, barter, exchange subject to 12%. So we have two types of output VAT, no, VATABLE transactions. And the second is that sale, barter, exchange subject to 0 rate. So we have 12% VAT rate, and we have also 0% VAT rate. So we'll discuss. We have here VATABLE transactions, no, sale or leases taxed at 12%. So tax consequences, seller is subject to VAT at 12%. So seller is entitled to input tax credit, in which our input VAT exceeds our output VAT. Then third is seller pays excess of output tax over input tax. That is VAT payable, no, to the BIR. So muna siya ang iyang mga tax consequences. Second is sale or leases tax at 0%. VAT man siya pero 0 rated. So tax consequences siya, seller is subject to VAT at 0 rated sale. And seller is entitled to input tax credit. Seller can claim refund or tax credit, no, for input tax on 0 rated sales. So 0 rated, ang iya ginbaligya is subject to VAT at a rate of 0%. But kung ang iya ginbaklan nga supplier is 12%, no, ang iya nga VAT, so that means ang iya input VAT should be multiplied ang input VAT is computed at the rate of 12%. Okay, if you could imagine, mas dako ni ang iya nga input VAT sang sa output VAT. Diba? Kaya iya output VAT is at 0 mo, so 0. No? Kaya 0 rated siya. But if ang iya supplier is 12%, ang VAT, they are VATABLE at the rate of 12% ang ilang supplier. So, iya purchases, ginamultiply na siya sa 12%. No, depende if gross selling price. Depende sa problem, no? If ang design sa problem. Later on, we will later on we will try to compute, no, how to get VAT, no, input VAT and output VAT. So diriya, mostly ang kakatabo is mas dako iya input VAT sa iyang output VAT. Therefore, entitled siya to claim input tax credit or tax refund, no, sa iyang sales, no, sa iyang transactions tanan ng sales and purchases. So 12% VATABLE transactions, sale of goods, that will be sale of real properties, primary held for sale, no, if nagabuy and sell kita sang properties, no, primary held for sale, therefore it is in the ordinary course of trade or business. Sale of right or privilege to use patent, copyright, design or model, plan, secret formula, process, goodwill, trademark, trade brand, or other like property or right. The right or privilege to use in the Philippines of any industrial, commercial, or scientific equipment. The right or privilege to use motion pictures, films, tapes, and discs, and radio, television, satellite transmission, and cable transmission type. Sale of services, performance of all kinds of service in the Philippines for others for a fee, remuneration, or consideration, whether in kind or in cash. So that is subject to 12%. Yes, VATABLE transaction as a class. Inclusion of sale of electricity by generation companies, transmission by any entity, and distribution companies, including electric cooperatives. So they are subject to VAT. If you could see, no, lang taon nyo sa inyo bill, sa inyo electricity, in which tiningabulan is so much kataas gid. I don't know why. So kita nyo the class nga may 12% ng VAT. Then importation of goods, VAT is imposed on goods brought into the Philippines, whether for use in business or not. So the tax shall be based, wala siya nakabulet dapat. The tax shall be based on the total value used by the BOC in determining tariff and customs duties plus customs duties, excise tax if any. Amo na siya tawag siniklas is the landed cost, no? tanan ni sang ining mga items nga ini, no? Value plus customs duties, excise tax, charges such as tanan class nga ginbayad mo sa pag-import, that would be the landed cost. No? Antes mo sa ginpa, ang ginbayad mo sa sina nga property or sa sina nga commodity, that is what we call landed cost. So dira ta ma-base, no, sa aton nga VAT, no, 12%. So what is this deemed sale transactions? Deemed sale transactions, for example, transfer, use, or consumption not in the course of business of goods originally intended for sale. So ibaligya siya tani, kaso gin-transfer mo siya, gingamit mo siya, gin-consume mo siya, no? But not in the ordinary course of business. That would be a deemed sale transaction that is subject to VAT. Distribution to shareholders as share in the profits, subject to VAT. Distribution to creditors as payment of debt, that would be a deemed sale transaction, no? Kay daw ka payment na siya class mo, kung for example daw ang guaya is si creditor, daw customer mo siya, then nagbakal siya sa imo sang goods, no? Same lang siya, do ka deemed sale transaction lang siya if may utang ka sa imo creditor, then ginbayran mo siya ya goods, no? Distributions to creditors as payment of debt. Then consignment of goods if actual sale not made within 60 days. Consignment class, if you are familiar with consignment, for example, may ginabaligya ka dayon gin-consign mo sa another person or to another entity, in which consignment do ginpabaligya mo siya, no? Do mahihambal ka lang, okay mo ang 10% do mo na bala, no, sa benta mo na siyang consignment. If ang ina nga commodity or goods nga ginpa-consign mo sa imo nga consignee and you are the consignor, wala siya nabaligya within 60 days, that would be considered as deemed sale transaction. Okay? Wala siya nabaligya within 60 days. Miss, nang ginauli na siya. Well, if hindi iya pag-iuli, so deemed sale, do ginpakal na ni consignee ang goods, no, from the consignor. If iuli, of course, ikaw na bahala baligya sina. So ikaw na ang maano sang VAT. So ikaw na ang masubject sa VAT. Okay? Or retirement or cessation of business with respect to ending inventories. If nag-retire ang business or nag-stop na in operation ng business, and if may baligya ka pa, ang nabilin ngayon ending inventory mo would be considered as deemed sale transaction, deemed sold na sa. So that would be subject to VAT. Okay? Zero-rated transactions. Zero-rated transactions of VAT, you are subject to VAT, but at 0%. Okay? So export sale is kung nag-export ka class, nagbaligya ka sa gwa, okay, to other countries, that is subject to VAT at a 0 rate. Sale of person, what? Sale of person entities, which is VAT exempt under special laws. What? Sale to person or entities. Oh, sale or person. I think this is a typo error class. Sale to person entities. Ah. Wait lang class. I'll check. Okay, I'm gonna check sa book. I want to make sure. Sorry, gid class ha. Sale. Okay, sale of person entities gidya. So si libro ang may typo. Sale to entities, sale of person entities. What? Ginbaligya ang person. Sale to entities, which is VAT exempt under special laws. If nagbaligya ka sa entities, no, which is VAT exempt under special laws or international agreements to which the Philippines is a signatory, subject to VAT at 0%, no? Nagbaligya ka sa entities nga VAT exempt. Meaning wala siya he is registered nga pwede siya hindi kabayad VAT exempt. So hindi siya exempt siya sa VAT, doon na siya. Under special laws or international agreements to which the Philippines is a signatory. Subject to VAT at 0%. Sale of power of fuel generated through renewable sources of energy. You already know what are these renewable sources of energy, no? Itong water, steam or whatsoever, no? That is subject to VAT at 0 rated. So take note of these three, no? Na 0 rated transactions. Sale of services at 0%. First is processing, manufacturing, or repacking of goods for other persons doing business outside the Philippines. Like, for example, Malaysia, no? Sa Malaysia, ang company, no? Sa Malaysia man siya ga-operate. Pero, ang iya di nga processing, manufacturing, repacking of goods, no? For them, are di sa Philippines. Subject na sa VAT at 0%. Which goods are subsequently exported where the service are paid for unacceptable foreign currency and accounted for in accordance with the rules and regulations of BSP. Okay, US na lang class, US para layo-layo. Si US company, na nag-transact siya sa Philippines, no? Nagpa-process siya, nagpa-manufacture packing of goods. And later on, that would be exported to sa ila. Now, exported means ibaligya ni US company ang iya nga ginpa-repack sa aton or ginpa-manufacture or ginpa-process sa aton. Baligya yaman lang sa other countries, no, which are area which goods are subsequently exported where the service are paid for an acceptable foreign currency. Ginbayaran si Philippine entity dollars, no? And accounted for in accordance with the rules and regulations of BSP. So that sale of service, no, ang ginbayad sa aton ni US entity nga dollars is subject to VAT at 0%. Okay? Okay, class. Hope you would get the thought. Second is service rendered to person covered by special laws. So what are these special laws? Could be later on. Wala. Okay, special laws. Special laws, so hindi siya ordinary laws. We'll later know what are these special laws. Pero mo na siya klasan. Don't be so particular if what are these special laws. Services rendered to persons engaged in international shipping or air transport operations. No, if international shipping, like nangiskis ka lang, if this Filipino entity ginayo siya nga limpyuhan ang barko ni US entity, no, that's international shipper air transport operation, ang ginbayad sa kay Filipino entity with the subject to VAT at 0%. Okay, so to be simple now. Service performed by subcontractors or contractors in processing, converting, or manufacturing goods for an enterprise whose export sale exceeds 70% of the total annual production. So those same man siya sa number 1, but service is performed by subcontractors or contractors. Take note of that, no? Services performed by subcontractors or contractors in processing, converting, or manufacturing goods for an enterprise whose export sale, ang ila export sale exceed 70% of its total annual production. So most of their transaction is exporting or exportation. So if si subcontractor and contractor, naghatag sila sa services nila when it comes to processing, converting, or manufacturing of goods for that enterprise in which ang ilang gin-export exceed 70% of their total annual production. That sale of services by that Filipino entity is subject to VAT at 0 rated, at 0%. Okay? So last is transport of passengers and cargo by domestic air or sea carriers from Philippines to a foreign country. Si Philippine Airlines, they are subject to VAT at 0%. Kaya nag-transport sila passengers and cargo, no, by domestic air or sea carriers from the Philippines to a foreign country. Si PAL, wala na siya sa sea carrier sa ara lang ta sa domestic air. Si PAL, nga ginhatag ko nga example. So you have here nota bene. Take note of this items 1 and 4. No, aling processing and services performed by subcontractors mentioned will be subject to 12% VAT sa train law. Okay, amo ni siyang VAT upon implementation of the enhanced VAT refund system beginning January 1, 2020. So sa January 1, 2020, si number 1, item number 1 and item number 4 ining processing, manufacturing, packing of goods, no? For those entities, no, foreign entities, subject to 12% VAT, hindi na siya zero rated. So number 2, 3, and 5 na lang ang subject to zero rate. So that ends the concept of value-added tax. I will make another video as to the computation part. And please do read in advance sa inyong module. And I will also give a soft copy of activity now once I already finished typing it. Okay, so have a good day, class, and God bless you all.